Right, good morning class. So today we're going to get back into our lessons about entrepreneurship or business ownership types. So with that being said, I'm going to play a video for you all just to recap what we talked about previously in terms of the different types of business ownerships. Also, what we're going to do, we're going to explain in detail the legal forms. You all should be able to, of course, identify and explain the differences between a sole proprietorship, partnership, corporation, and LLC, which stands for Limited Liability Company. You will, again, be able to identify and compare businesses and analyze them as well. So we're going to, play the video, and then we'll recap and look at some information about these different types of companies where you identify those. I have a group activity for you all as well. So let's go ahead and get the video started.
From an accounting perspective, the three most common classifications of businesses are the sole proprietorship, the partnership, and the corporation. Let's start with the sole proprietorship. A sole proprietorship is where one person starts a business and could be as simple as opening a lemonade stand in your neighborhood. It's easy to set up, you have full control over it, and there aren't many tax requirements. However, there are some drawbacks. In a sole proprietorship, you have unlimited liability. This means that if your business is unable to meet financial obligations, a creditor, like the bank, can come after your personal assets, such as your house or even your car. The primary way you'd be financing your business is through bank loans or personal investments, and the life of your business is only as long as your own. Now let's say you decide to open a lemonade stand, but this time with a few friends. This would be considered a partnership. A partnership is quite similar in the sense that it's also very easy to set up and has no special tax requirements. There's shared control of the business, and you have access to a lot more resources. One of the biggest consequences of a partnership, however, is that you are liable for any of your partner's debts or bad decisions. Finally, the third type of business organization is a corporation. Unlike the first two, a corporation is a separate legal entity. Think of it as its own person. It is much harder to set up and has its own tax requirements. The benefits of incorporating your business can be quite rewarding though. Through stockholders, you can raise a large amount of capital. You are not personally liable for the business's debts, and the life of the business is infinite and doesn't parallel the life of any individual. You are most likely interacting with all three of these business organizations on a daily basis without even noticing. The best business organization for any business depends heavily on the long-term goals of the business, but is an important distinction to make.
Alright, so if you notice, one type of business wasn't mentioned. Which one was it? LLC. From what you all remember, who can tell me what an LLC basically means? Yes, Jeremiah.
An LLC is a business that is separated from a person. So it's counted as a person, but it's not an actual person.
Okay, so what do you mean it's not actually a person?
It's its own thing.
So if the business falls under, then the person that owns the business can't get in trouble like their own debt.
Okay, so what are they protecting? So you said not liable, so what are they protecting?
From like lawsuits.
Okay, what
Debt.
what do they possess that is not what you're not trying to take away if you have an LLC? So if you are being sued, there's a lawsuit against you, what are you protecting?
Yourself.
Yourself, yes. What else? What things you property, yes, property, what else? Assets, yes. So you were there, y'all were there, absolutely. So yeah, so one thing about an LLC is that again, yes, not anyone, but people can start an LLC. The main objective of that or the advantage is of course to protect their personal assets like their retail or their real estate property, their assets, a boat, a house, car, jewelry, etc. So absolutely, so good job on that. So you saw of course the other differences you have your sole proprietorship, partnership, and corporations, what are the two biggest differences between a sole proprietorship and a partnership?
So the differences,
Yeah, what's the difference?
well, sole proprietorship, you're by yourself.
Yep, one person, you're the sole owner, absolutely. And of course, a partnership,
There's a few people.
say again, it with someone or multiple people, so it can be 2, 3, 4, however you designate or define what kind of company you want to have. So, that being said, so I do have a couple of examples of some businesses here, so together let's identify what type of business ownership it may be. So Busby Heating and Air, that's a local company. Of course, that company, and you feel free to look them up real quick. But Busby Heating and Air, local company here in CSRA right here. There's an office here in Evans, and they serve all around the area. What type of company would you identify this as? Would you identify this as a sole proprietorship, partnership, corporation, or LLC?
It's a sole proprietorship.
Sole proprietorship, okay. So let's think about the type of company this is. So this company, so they have multiple vans and trucks that they use throughout the community. They also have, of course, multiple employees. People come out and service your home, so that means they may have to deal with your equipment at your home. So knowing that, do you think it would be a sole proprietorship? No. What about a partnership? Possibly, right? A partnership, it could be Busby, it could be Busby and son, Busby and daughter, Busby family, could be that. Or it could be a corporation, or it could be an LLC. So if we eliminate sole proprietorship out of the last three, what could it possibly be? Corporation. It could be, it could be, it could absolutely be. What about an LLC? Could it be that? So why would it be an LLC over a corporation? What would be the difference? Yep, so I mean, so as an LLC, they want to protect their assets. But we think about a corporation, we're thinking like a big company, right? I know Busby Heating and Air, it's not a small company by any means. But if we look at, if we had an option between it being an LLC, limited liability company, or a corporation, compared to some of these others, what we think it would be? LLC. And that's because, again, we're dealing with a company that is using multiple, has equipment, has trucks, employees, they're going to people's homes, they could be messing with their, not plumbing, but their heating and air equipment, and if something happens to that equipment, let's say they come to one of your homes and they, bust a line in the middle of the summer, and you're without AC for 2 weeks, mom, dad, parents are gonna try to do what?
Call Busby.
Yeah, they're gonna try to sue, they're trying to call someone, hey, y'all need to fix this, but they want to protect their assets. What about Apple? Corporation, absolutely. Why is that?
They got a board.
They have a board, good point, yes, they have a board, yep. They have a board of directors, they're a large company, one of the largest companies in the world, obviously. So that's a good way to distinguish them. What about Frails and Wilson, attorney at law? Partnership, yeah, how do you come up with that? Frails and Wilson. A lot of law offices are going to be partnerships. You may have seen in movies where they talked about, hey, I want to become a partner of this firm. That's where that comes in. So maybe Frail started on by him or herself, and then added on Wilson, or they started it at the same time. Maybe once they retire, maybe it'll become Frails, Wilson, and Watson, or Frails, Wilson, and Young. They could bring on more partners. All right, what about CSRA photography? Sole proprietorship. Or potentially what else? Partnership, absolutely. Sole or partner. All right, Crocs.
Corporation.
Corp. I gotta have a tricky one up here. I'll come back to this one. Court. Adidas.
Corporation.
Court. Yes. Piedmont. So we're talking about, it once was University Hospital, now it's called Piedmont, and they have multiple locations across the country, or really, more focused here in Georgia. Corporation.
I don't know what it's up
I've been in Subsplash,
Franchise.
potentially.
Wait, what is it though?
So Subsplash, they are a company who, based out of, I believe, Dallas, Texas, or somewhere in Texas, they create software for religious organizations. So anytime, if you ever have gone to church and you've seen the big production with the slideshows and the big production, they're the company behind that. So they're the ones who set up your online page, help you with your giving page, all that type of stuff. So what kind of company do you think, based on what I just told you, what do you think that would be? LLC? Yeah. And why is that, Chandler?
No, like real liability, like
Say it again?
I said like they don't. There's no liability for like their company won't take liability for.
Okay, so the company does not want to assume liability. It's not quite a corporation, but they're not a large organization. They don't necessarily work with all different types of companies, but they are more of a limited liability company because they want to, of course, protect their assets. And again, they have not gone from a limited liability to a corporation. Now, later we'll talk about how you go from a limited liability to a corporation based on you having to get board of directors and moving on from there. So good job on that. Yesterday you all had your, your charts, your pages, or whatever. So we're actually going to use those charts for what we're going to do next, which is I'm going to pass out these little guidebooks. It's going to be part of your group activity. You're going to use those charts to review some of the companies, and then maybe in a small group of 2 to 3 people, you're going to find a company, and I'm going to call on some volunteers and have you just kind of give me a quick synopsis of that company and what type of company it is. So, and now these books, and these are from 2024, so I haven't received the latest copy, but this should suffice. So, just in small groups right in this area, just come up with, look at a couple of companies, maybe come up with one together, and then you can decide, have some for you all if you want to participate. Yeah, just want to look through it, that's fine. Alright, so I'm gonna give you all about 4 minutes, review those books, and we'll discuss and decide. Again, just looking for like a 1-minute presentation on the company. While you all are doing that, I am going to grab
Okay, now.
So all these companies are right here in the CSRA. Probably have been to a couple of them. So it's pretty cool. You can see all the different types of companies that are right here in this area.
Okay.
Actually know someone who bought a couple of suits from him.
They look like good suits.
They are, yeah. They're custom made.
Oh, cigars?
Yeah.
Have some food, I'm hungry.
Don't we go to the whiskey bar?
It's stupid.
Bro, bye.
Y'all can go to that, I'm about to go to it.
Look how good that was.
The food is good, yeah.
Yeah, we'll talk about the
Food is
food.
great, yes. That onion ring, absolutely. I've been there before, yeah. I had one that had,
Look, guys,
pulled
my
pork,
work's in-
pulled pork on top, on the burger. The pulled pork was the top.
Yeah, we can do discussion.
That was good.
That sounds good.
8/1/13.
No, we should do page 6.
Huh?
So again, we're focused on sole proprietorships, partnerships, limited liability companies,
Let's do this one. Is that
and
one?
corporations. And then of course you have different types of corporations.
Yo, can we
So
go
one
to
of,
this
so
place?
the difference is you have a C corp, S corp, and non-profit.
We need to
Yes.
go
This
to
place looks like
As
a
a
class.
like a class.
Village Deli.
They look pretty
Give y'all
good.
your
Oh,
mission
that looks
forms.
good.
Class good.
This looks, yeah.
Village
Shout out Village Deli.
Let me keep this moving.
Alright, I'll give you all about a minute.
And then,
So go ahead and pick one.
Philly cheesesteak.
I'll give you a brief synopsis.
is it?
Oh.
Okay, where
Bro,
is
why
it?
do we-
Oh, no, we just gotta give us something, basically. All this shopping for
There's a lady that was.
owned and operated by Heather Chancellor, so it seems like a sole proprietorship.
But this year's one is, green. I have
Offer a
one
range
all
of
the way from.
seating suitable for everything.
Yeah, we have all those.
There's no burgers.
So if you want the new one, I can get it to you.
6-7 is the best number. Look at this gym I found, you know.
Handmade sandwiches, such as, I want cheesesteak.
Oversized salad.
It was, I was driving and there was this car coming
Well, now they voted, Love has the best lunch spot.
and they came and cleaned up your dog poop.
I would understand.
It's a sole proprietorship that focuses on burgers and handcrafted sandwiches,
I didn't even know how.
and was
why would
voted
they tell you?
as the best lunch spot.
So, assignment we have.
The snow cone place.
Yeah, that would be the most challenging part to start a business.
The liability, also the liability, right, it's a sole proprietorship.
Well, also, what's gonna happen to Heather whenever, you know, like,
She dies, I heard.
yeah, like, I didn't
Oh,
wanna say that, but like.
I mean, probably, this one seems like it's big enough that business would have some. That's the thing,
Alright, are
like,
we ready to
how
share
does
out?
the business die? Like,
Ready?
you can just.
Alright. So who wants to go first? Who wants to share? You wanna share? Okay. Alright.
So Stephen Creek Church is a place in the church in the Augusta area. It's a non-profit corporation, and it helps people that need help. Yeah.
Okay. Alright, anything else you wanna add on to that? Good. Okay, so we've identified a nonprofit corporation. So how do we determine that this particular organization is nonprofit? Do you know?
Because it's a church.
It's a church, yeah. So a religious organization usually will classify as a nonprofit. They may have programs within the church, like a store or something like that, where it could be for profit. But of course, the overall mission is, we said, help people. So yes. Thank you.
We've got the Augusta Candle Company, and it is a, sole proprietorship.
Sole proprietorship, okay, so there's one person. What's that person's name?
Amy Darn.
Okay, Amy. All right, so Amy, sole proprietor. Tell me a little bit more about the company, if you would. Something brief.
So you make your own candles there, and they have a whole bunch of scents you can pick from, and
Okay.
you come back in a couple of days, and you pick up the candles you made.
Okay, nice. Thank you, thank you. Shannon,
It only takes 90 minutes to make.
90 minutes to make the candle, okay, that's good.
Yes,
Go
sir.
ahead, team in the back.
So, we had Village Deli Pub and Sub.
Okay.
They're a restaurant, they're a sole proprietorship. It was started
So
by
it's one owner,
one owner. Her name is Miss Heather,
okay,
Heather Chauncey,
okay,
and, it's on Riceboro Road.
okay. And they sell a variety of,
Burgers, sandwiches, salads.
And so,
Okay.
people regard it as the best lunch spot in the area.
oh, nice, okay, okay. So, sole
67.
proprietorship, they actually have a building and physical location.
Yes, sir.
Would that be the best thing for a sole proprietorship, or would you recommend in maybe incorporating or doing something different? What's your,
I think they should keep it one location,
keep in one location?
just because like,
It's unique.
it's unique, you're like, hey, you're gonna go to that one spot, it gives
Okay.
it that nicheness to it, is that a word?
Okay, yeah, niche is a word, yes.
It used to be in the neighborhood.
Good vocabulary word, so, good job, so you all have identified different types of businesses right here in the local community. Nice variety of companies, so we had, I know you all looked in the books, you probably saw different types of companies, which is awesome. So you're able to analyze and see the differences between, based off the activity. Of course, we identified some other businesses on a corporate level and all the way down to sole proprietorship with the CSRA photography company. So good job with that. Any questions? Any questions? Okay, so the last thing I have for you guys before you all head out, in Google Classroom, I did place an exit ticket question. So if you will, head over to Google Classroom. The question is basically based off of the company that you chose. So the company that you chose from this little guide, and of course you have your charts that you used from yesterday's activity. I want you all to answer the question, what's one disadvantage of the business chosen that you all chose will be most challenging during the startup of the business? So one disadvantage. So thinking about the church, what's the disadvantage of creating a nonprofit? Or if you are Village Deli, or what's the disadvantage of starting that company? Could it be income or resources? Could it be the market that you're serving? Same thing for the candle. Tell me the name of the candle company. That's the candle company. So as a sole proprietorship, she's making candles, customers come in. Are there any potential liability issues, or does she, are there any startup issues with that? So please go ahead and answer that question for me. That's it. Thank you.